Hi, my name's Sammy and I'm 22 and I'm from Cornwall. I'd like to welcome you to my YouTube channel. I'm going to start my channel off by talking to you about something that's really important to me and my family, and it's basically my heart condition. I'd like to really raise awareness on it and be here if anyone wants to talk about it, if they have the same condition or a family member that's got it. My condition is dilated cardiomyopathy. Dilated cardiomyopathy is also known as DCM, and it's basically a disease of the heart muscle where it becomes thin and stretched. My cardiomyopathy is inherited, and it's caused by a change or mutation in one or more of your genes. If you do have inherited cardiomyopathy, there's a 50% chance that any of your future children could have DCM. So my son is 18 months old and he's been for a heart scan recently to see if he has anything worrying going on yet, and at the minute he doesn't. They're happy with how his heart's doing, but he will get checked every 1 to 2 years just to make sure that it does stay that way. And if anything does change, then they can be on top of it straight away and give him the best care that he needs. I personally wasn't diagnosed until I was about 16, and I was only diagnosed because my dad started getting issues, and they then found out he had a heart condition, so he tested all of his children. I'm the only one out of 4 of us that come back as having a condition, so it does make me and my dad very close in that way, and we are both Virgos, so we are pretty much a piece in the pod. You can get DCM without it being inherited. You can get it from viral infections, uncontrolled high blood pressure, problems with your heart valves, excessive amounts of alcohol, and pregnancy. So I already had my condition before I was pregnant, so it was nothing to do with my pregnancy, but it did have a massive impact on my pregnancy, which is something that I will go into in another video, as I'd love to do a video about my pregnancy and my C-section and kind of how it all went. If you do have dilated cardiomyopathy, it's basically where the left ventricle of your heart becomes dilated, which is stretched and baggy. So the way they used to describe it to people who get diagnosed quite young, like myself, I was 16, you get a brand new balloon and you fill it with water and you squeeze that balloon and most of the water will come out. If you get an old balloon that's been blown up loads of times and it's really stretched and worn and you fill it with water and you go to squeeze it, not as much water as what would come out of a new balloon would come out. So that's the analogy they used to kind of explain it to younger people. And it's kind of the easiest one to explain to people that don't know. It makes it easier for them to understand. But when this happens and you have this condition, it causes the heart muscle to become weak and thin and floppy. So it means your heart can't pump that blood around your body like it should do. This can lead to fluid building up in the lungs, ankles, abdomen, and other organs. When you get this collection of symptoms, that is generally then known as heart failure. Luckily at the minute I don't have them and my condition is being managed quite well. There is several symptoms with DCM. In most cases it does develop quite slowly, so you can end up getting to quite a severe point with your symptoms before you actually get a diagnosis, which can be quite scary when you don't know what's happening and you're young. So I do get a little bit of all 4 of the symptoms, which is shortness of breath, swelling in the ankles and abdomen, excessive tiredness, and palpitations. So on a normal day, I don't feel too bad breath-wise, only if I overexert myself or push myself too hard. On a bad day, I can just generally feel quite out of breath or get out of breath from just doing small things. So it's kind of just something that I have to deal with day to day and just take each day as it comes and deal with it as and when. I do get swelling of the ankles. Again, that is generally only if I overexert myself or I've been on my feet all day. I do notice a slight change in my ankles. It's not really noticeable to other people, but it's something that I myself do just constantly am aware of. Excessive tiredness, that's kind of probably the biggest one for me, that and the shortness of breath. On a good day I can feel absolutely fine, but probably 4 days at least out of the week I do feel absolutely drained. I do have an 18-month-old, but he does sleep the whole way through the night, so my sleep doesn't get broken up, luckily. And he's done that since about 6 months, since 6 weeks old. So he has been really good. But obviously, still running around with him day in, day out, I do get very tired. And like some days, just even having a nap doesn't really help. I just am generally tired. Palpitations, again, I don't really get them that often anymore. I noticed them a lot when I was about 18, so I'm 22 now, so it has gotten better, I would say. But I noticed them a lot when I was about 18, and I wasn't taking care of myself properly. I was staying up stupid late all the time. I was going out of town. I wasn't drinking, but I was just overdoing it all the time and working and just overdoing it. Palpitations can be quite scary because you don't really know exactly what's happening. But I would notice them mainly if I've been like really pushing myself behind the bar working and then suddenly just stopped, and like when I'd finished serving the customers, and that's when my heart would like catch up with itself, and that's when I'd notice the palpitations. Since I've been back on medication and I'm slowly remembering to take it every day, I don't really get them that often now. Maybe sometimes if I work out and I've really pushed myself, but not that often, which is a good thing. So they are definitely getting better. When they try to diagnose somebody with dilated cardiomyopathy, the normal like procedure, they do like an ECG, which is where they record the electrical activity of your heart. You get them done in the ambulance as well. Like if you kind of just get taken in for anything else in general, it's where they put like them sticky leads on you. They plug you in, you stay still for a few seconds, and it just records your like the electrical like movements of your heart. It's not really any biggie. It's like a pretty quick and easy sort of test to have done. The other thing they do is an echocardiogram, which is basically like an ultrasound of your heart. So they obviously go in, they do like when you go for your routine, like echo, you go in, they do another ECG on you, they take your weight and your height, just ask you how you've been doing, and then they'll do like the ultrasound on your heart. It can take anywhere like 20 minutes, sometimes up to like an hour. It just depends like if they can get the images they need. It just kind of all depends what your heart's doing that day and if they can get what they need. But in general, I'm usually in there for about 20 minutes, half an hour, because I've been going for quite a while now. So they kind of just get me in and get me out and get me done. I go to Trisk Hospital in Cornwall, because I'm from Cornwall, and they have been really good. My cardiologist is Dr. Johnson, and he's also my dad's. So it's really good having the same cardiologist for both me and my dad, because he knows like the family history, and he has been absolutely spot on throughout the whole of my pregnancy and just in general with my condition. There's a couple of other tests that they do. I personally haven't had these done, but they do an exercise test, an angiogram, and an MRI scan. So they did want to send me for an MRI scan, but I just didn't end up going through with it because of my anxiety and my claustrophobia. I just couldn't do it. And exercise was really good when I couldn't go through with it. They said it's fine, like, you know, don't panic. We can find other ways to check your heart. So they was really good. They haven't done an exercise test with me. I kind of wish they would do an exercise test with me, because it put my heart, like my mind at rest when I was doing exercise, to know what my heart was doing and how it was coping. But it's just something they haven't done. It might be something worth talking to them about in a later date, but at the minute of COVID, it's kind of not really a priority. An angiogram, I haven't had one of these done, but my dad has. It's basically where they inject a dye up into your arm, like through a cannula, and then they do a scan, and they can obviously then see all your veins and what your heart's doing, because obviously the dye is obviously like brought it like out in the scan. Because my dad had one, luckily enough I didn't need one, which was I'm so happy about. And his did come back okay, like it wasn't too bad. At the minute though, there kind of isn't really a cure for DCM. If you've got it, you've got it. All they can really do is help manage your symptoms and just try to keep your heart sort of in the best shape that they can at the present time. So I personally am on 2 medications. I'm on a beta blocker and an ACE inhibitor. I take my beta blocker twice a day, and I take my ACE inhibitor once a day. In general, I don't really feel too bad after taking them, but when I first got diagnosed at 16, they put me on 2 other medications, and they made me so ill, like to the point I was in college, and I spent probably a good 6 months of that college like year just in bed. I was so tired, I couldn't get out of bed. They wasn't right for me. And you can find that with a lot of these medications, especially when you're young, because like young females, their blood pressure generally is quite low anyway. And the point to most of these medications is to lower your blood pressure more and your heart rate. so that the muscle kind of gets a chance to build up, and it kind of just protects your heart and gives it like that extra bit of like fighting chance to sort of get like help prepare itself a little bit. So they obviously changed my medication, and since changing my medication, I have noticed a big difference. Like I'm actually able to function on a day-to-day basis, and which I wasn't able to do before. So I'm so glad that they've changed my medication. Thank you. But there's like other things that they can give you. Luckily, I haven't had to have any of these yet, and hopefully I won't have to. And I'm hoping my heart just kind of stays stable and we can just manage it with medication. But they can give you an ICD, which is if you have an arrhythmia, it kind of just, it's there in place. If your arrhythmia starts playing up and your heart's like skipping a beat or it's not going straight, that will kind of just jump in to help your heart then sort of do what it needs to do. They can give you a pacemaker as well, which helps control the heart rate. I luckily enough, I don't need either of these yet, because I don't get arrhythmias. Blood pressure medication. So obviously I am on medication, which does help bring my blood pressure down. So, but mine is already quite low. So whenever I go to hospital for anything and they do my blood pressure, the nurses all panic and they get worried that I'm going to faint on them because my blood pressure is so low. But mine is just naturally low, and I kind of have to like ensure the nurses that I am fine and I don't think I'm going to faint. There is like other things you can get with having DCM. Luckily I haven't experienced any of these, and I hope I don't. But you can get arrhythmias, as I just said, blood clots, and chest pain. So the chest pain I have had a couple of times if I'm really pushing myself. So I do kind of know my limits now, and I'm getting a lot better at judging when something's enough for me and when it's not. And yeah, it's just, this is kind of my condition. If there's anything I've missed out on, and any of you that come across this do have it yourself, and there's any tips that you guys have or anything that you find helpful, I would love for someone to drop the information in the comments. And if there's anyone who kind of does the gym here that kind of knows any suitable exercises for people like me, I'd love to see your videos or just some information, because I'm currently doing a free DVD that I ordered from the British Heart Foundation. I absolutely love going on their website and just checking out kind of what's going on, because obviously it's something that's really close to me. So I ordered myself and my dad both a DVD from there, and it's kind of like a cardiac rehabilitation course, which is, I've done one before with like through my doctors, and I did find it really helpful. Just at the minute, obviously they aren't running them sort of courses, so this is kind of, it means I can do it at home. There's like 5 different levels on there, I think, so it's good for people that have like just had a heart attack, because they do stuff like for people that can't, like more of the older, or people who've kind of not got like limbs. They do things like sitting down, and then they also do things like at a much higher level. So for people that have all beforehand did have a really active lifestyle. So at the minute I've started on level 2, which I definitely notice and feel the burn afterwards, which is brilliant, because it feels good to actually be doing something. But before like getting any of these DVDs, I definitely recommend seeing a doctor first and making sure that you are safe and ready to work out and push yourself to that level, because obviously I've already checked with mine and he's fine with it. He's told me just to take things slow and just build it up slowly, so that I know when I've had enough and what's right for me. But obviously everybody is different, so just because somebody the same age as you is doing a higher level doesn't mean they're any like better than you. Everyone has to build at a slow rate and just take it gradually. I mean, I do the level 2 course, like the level 2 program, but there is points in there where I will kind of have to take it down a notch, because I do feel like I am working a little bit too hard. So it's definitely a DVD I would recommend if you are at the stage in your like treatment where you are allowed to go back to working out and getting back into exercise. So it is good for people like us to do exercise, because obviously it does still help build towards our heart rate, but our heart health. So I definitely would check that out and just look on their page in general. Yeah, I'll definitely give them a little check out. But I'll put a link to my Instagram on my in my description, and you guys can give me a little follow on Instagram. My inbox is always open if anyone wants to have a chat with me or has any questions, and they just don't want to leave anything in the comments because they'd rather it be a bit more private. So there's a link for my Instagram, so you can give me a message. I do post a bit more on my Instagram as well, like daily sort of what I get up to. So come and follow me on there. You can see what I get up to on a day-to-day basis. And please like and subscribe. It is my first video, so I really appreciate it. And I will catch you guys all soon. Thank you.